Welcome to the Bourbon Talk Show, the ABV Network's original YouTube series where we interview some of the most interesting people from the world of bourbon. Today on the show, we'll be talking to filmmaker Beau Cumberland and Michael Myers of Distillery 291. My name is McNew. Please join me in welcoming my co-host for the evening, Steve Akley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on?
Everybody.
Hey,
Steve.
hey,
Awesome.
what's going on?
We have a great studio audience tonight, and we have, of course, a couple of excellent people that we're going to be interviewing. So, Beau and Michael, look forward to talking to you guys in just a second. But before we get to that, we do like to talk about bourbon news, what's going on in the world of bourbon. And before we even get to that, the pre-thing is we're supposed to have Sandy No on tonight. So people saw our promotion for this. Sandy No had to cancel, unfortunately. We'll get her back on. We'll get her rebooked. She was very sorry about that, but we'll get her booked on another show. And even before that, this has been the bad show, because even before that, it was Brian Smith, who unfortunately had to cancel as soon as I talked to him. I talked to him, he kind of forgot about it, booked something else, wasn't able to do it. So then Sandy filled in, and now Beau is filling in just this afternoon. So
I'm third choice.
The charm. We're excited, Beau's here.
So yeah, it gives me an idea about the world of TV. You know, it's ever evolving. You know, you have to be a producer and you work the phone. You call your go-to people when you're in a crunch. So I appreciate you coming on, Beau. So that's really cool. So that's very, very helpful. And other notes this week. So I talked to Michael, and of course he's got a big week we'll talk about when we interview him. But he said, "Can I send you some whiskey for the show?" So he sends me
Nice.
2 bottles you see there. There's 2 more here. 4 bottles. And in unrelated news, Michael Myers will now be on every week on the Bourbon Talk Show.
He's a staple now.
Yes, yeah, he's achieved regular status. So yes,
Yeah.
I think 2 of those bottles are for the other guest, right?
Your co-host, maybe.
You come to my house. Come to my house. We'll hang out, and you can have some of that. So yes, very, very exciting stuff. So looking forward to that. But before we get started talking to our guest, we always like to cover 3 topics. What's going on in the world of bourbon? First one, obviously, very sad. Steve Thompson, founder of Kentucky Artisan, worked at Brown-Forman, had an amazing career. Passed away. And, it's one of those tough things too. He wasn't sick or anything like that. He was actually on a nice vacation. He was in Michigan with family and stuff like that. If you follow him on Facebook, he's posting some great photos of just relaxing and stuff like that. And you see how quick those things can just end.
Yeah. That's truly a great loss, for his family and friends in the industry too. Just an absolute loss.
Yeah, they've helped a lot of brands along the way because they serve as a company that sources and bottles for other companies and things like that, and they've got their own stuff too. But and the big one, of course, that everyone knows is Jefferson's Bourbon. Of course, it resides in Kentucky Artisan. So, but that's not the only one. There's been a lot of other brands that have gone through there, and even our buddy Turner Wathen talks about his time he spent there. And it's a big loss for sure. There's no way to you just don't get people that had an amazing career like that. I mean, to work that long in the corporate environment and then to start his own thing, and just so many great stories. And you go there, and he one of my favorite stories, and there's a million stories about Steve Thompson, but he used to have that old Forester still in there. You'd go see it. It looked like a big UFO. It was an amazing copper pot still, looked like a UFO. And you have to wonder what you would pay for a valuable relic like that. They actually paid him to take that away at the time when they were getting rid of it. So they paid him to take it away, and then of course it's worth a couple $100,000 or something crazy. So just as the world of bourbon changes, everybody wants those older stills and stuff. So just pretty cool stuff. Next one, McNew, have you seen this? To me, this is also kind of a sad story because I think it's dumb. A lot of restaurants now are putting on their drink menus that bourbon is listed at market price. So you go to order a Weller, antique, and it'll say not a price on there. It's not $15 for a pour of it. It's market price. Does that drive you crazy, McNew?
Okay, I have mixed feelings about it.
Oh gosh, here we go. Okay,
hear me out. So they do it with oysters. There's a restaurant near us we go to all the time that does it with bison burgers. I guess bison is something that's market price now too, at least where we're at. So people still buy it though, right? And I feel like if you're not a guy that doesn't want to pay market price, get something else. Try a craft brand. Try something else. You don't need something allocated then. It's fine.
Don't you think you're a victim of marketing? Because
No, I'm here for the marketing. I'm not mad at people who are marketing and making their money. It's fine.
In Kentucky, yeah, they can buy bottles off the secondary. But in other states, and it's kind of everywhere, in other states, they're paying that exact same price for Weller. Now, they may have it less. So I guess their market price is, hey, I got a bottle of Weller Antique, and next one I get maybe 3, 4, 6 months from now. But in reality, they're paying the same price. So they're charging you this crazy, and market price, is it literally by the day?
I feel like it goes by the day, and I feel like it's very made up. But hey, if you don't want to pay market price, if that makes you angry, pick a different bourbon. There's many other choices that are not allocated. You're going to be fine.
Why not do that with everything? Sandwich, market price.
I would like to see you start a restaurant.
Yeah, that's gonna be the name of my restaurant when I open it up. It's gonna be called Market Price.
You woke up in a bad mood today, and this fried bologna sandwich is a $50 sandwich today. Okay, it's the market price.
It's the market price. Yeah, it's just whatever I come up with. So okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing, the third story is actually kind of a fun one. I don't know. You have to come up with ideas when you write publications like I do. And the one that I came up with that I pitched to Maker's Mark this week was, I want to do an article on slam dunks. You know, those bottles that they put further in the wax, and
people love that.
People love them. They're all over. Like if someone finds one, they're like found in the wild. So I thought, you know what? There's enough enthusiasm about it. I'll see if they'll talk to me about that. How often do they do it? Why do they do it? Is it a marketing thing? Is it just something fun that the bottling crew does, or and how far are they willing to dunk these things? Could you find one that's almost totally covered sometime? That would
actually be exciting to read about, because you occasionally find them, not very often.
Yes.
But that would be fun to know more about. I love that scoop.
I've never found one actually, but I'm going to start looking more aggressively. I'm going to check Makers from this point forward till I find one of those, because now I'm on a mission. I want to find one, especially because I'm going to be writing this article. So I don't know. I thought that was just a crazy, dumb thing to write about. And sometimes I like to entertain myself and be thinking, like, someone on the other end of this email is going to receive this thing, and they're going to be like, why does this guy want to write about this?
I'm sure they've probably gotten weirder requests. I'm sure distilleries get all kinds of weird emails on a regular basis, and they're going to be like, yeah, that's a pretty normal question. Okay.
Yeah. So it's supposed to happen. They're going to set me up with an interview with someone from the bottling line to talk about it. So it hasn't happened yet.
Are they going to let you come experience it live? Are you going to get like a behind the scenes? You should do your own slam dunk.
Yeah, that would be cool, right? But yes, yeah. I don't know if I could do that job, actually. I'd be so nervous starting out of that, because I feel like I'd screw them up. And though recently Becca, Royce, the warden, and I went there, and we did the ones that you can bottle in the gift shop, which didn't allow you to do slam dunks there, by the way. It's a short thing, so you can't. If you try to dunk it, it hits the bottom quickly.
You can't. Yeah, you have to pull it out, do the perfect twirl. But there's a lot of pressure. I feel like that wax line has a lot of pressure, because you're gonna be like, man, his wax looked better than mine.
I know. Of course, I turned it into a contest, and I won. Everyone in our group even had to admit that mine was the best. So. Yeah.
And I'm sure the people on that line make it a competition every day. Who had the best dunk today? Like, it's got to be a stressful job.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there you go. That's what's happening in the world of bourbon, fun stuff. And yes, look forward to getting more of those things, and of course presenting my article on. I'm gonna have, it's all behind. I'm the Mike Wallace of this topic. So we'll find out everything there is to know about it.
I love it.
All right, it is now time to introduce our guest, and our first guest is a filmmaker. He has numerous whiskey documentaries to his credit. In addition to his independent work, he is part of the collaborative trio at the ABV Network we call Bourbon Sasquatch Trio. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Beau Cumberland. Beau, how you doing?
Hey, Steve.
How you doing, my friend?
All right, man. How are you?
Good. Are you nervous?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, that's good. You should be nervous, because then you do a better show. I always feel the person who's not nervous, is just, they're mailing it in. They're mailing it in.
I'm definitely not mailing this one in.
Yeah. Hopefully Michael's really nervous, because he's got to go second. So he's like, oh, the tension's building. I'm so nervous. So yeah, we'll see. In 2020, Beau, you made a move from Tennessee to Kentucky, and tell us, why you did that and how it's going so far.
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. So, several years ago, you and I met, and one of the first projects we ever worked on was Kindred Spirits.
Yes.
And one of the first people in the industry that I met was Royce Neely. And so he and I became, really good friends over the years, and, just talked back and forth. And we always talked about what it would look like for me to move up here from Tennessee and, kind of help them out with video work and graphic work and whatnot. And so it took a few years of convincing my family to move up here, as well as,
Right.
just kind of getting my ducks in a row. And so it, the story is a little bit more in depth than this, but it basically turns out, I moved up here to specifically work with Royce and at his distillery. And, I got up here, my job that I had back in Knoxville pretty much made me an offer that I couldn't refuse, said, please come back and work for us.
So they wait till you sell your house, move out of state, and then they make you an offer. This is crazy, man.
But, they said you could stay up there, work from home. So, I couldn't turn that down. I've been there 15 years at the time. So, I didn't lose any of my seniority or anything like that. But I think it was probably better because I still get to go to Neely's anytime I want. I still help them with, work. I'm still there filming just about, at least weekly or something like that. So, I think it worked out pretty well. So, and now I'm here. So anytime, before I moved here, you and I would have to coordinate weekends. So what weekend are you available now? I mean, literally, if you want to come here on a Tuesday, I can work around my schedule, with my real job. And I can,
like McNew used to be able to do. She used to have a job where she could do that. Now she has a new job where they monitor her on the computer. She's not so fun anymore. She literally
this is going to be very short-lived. It's probably the end of October. I can't.
I call her today. She's like, "Oh, I took the day off." I'm like, "You just started there like a month ago. You're already taking days off." Yeah. So that's McNew. Yeah. So, and it's been good. The family, they enjoying Kentucky and all that kind of stuff, Beau?
Yeah, everybody here seems to love it. My son, which you met, through
little Beau Jr. Yeah.
Beau Jr. He loves it up here. He and I. So I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later. There's a little side project that I do called 5-minute distillery tours.
Yes.
Where I just go to a distillery and do it's just a brief overview of what you would expect when you go to this distillery.
Yep.
And he loves to go with me. So, I mean, if I can't go during the week when he's in school, he gets mad. So he wants to go. So he loves this industry. My wife, we've all kind of just fallen in love with Kentucky and glad we made the move.
Very cool. So when it comes to films, how did you get started in making movies?
Well, I got started in video work just through, I went to school for graphic design and I started there, did some graphic design, and that always morphs into something else, whether it's like web design, video. So that's how I got started. But I got interested in this industry probably around 2009 or 10. My brother, one of my brothers, was really into like making moonshine, and so he got me into it. And I was always scared to make moonshine, but I wanted to, what I could offer, the thing that I could offer was, I could document and film and tell people stories. So that's kind of how I got into that. And so I spent a long time doing just basically moonshine documentaries. And then I met you. And I had no connection to the bourbon industry, and I really, always wanted to have some connections in this industry, and I wouldn't even know where to start. So that's how I got into this industry. But, I started off doing, several, my original intent was to do a moonshine documentary. And so what ended up happening, I think, was a little bit better, is I would film for these certain people, and my promise to them would be, if you will let me come film you, then I'll give you, I'll make a little film that you can sell at like festivals, or, so that's kind of made it worth their time for me to come and invade their privacy. And, so ended up, I kind of scrapped the idea of me doing a moonshine documentary because I had 4 or 5 of these little mini documentaries that I had done for these moonshiners. So it
Yeah.
it worked out probably better.
Yeah. In 2017, you and I started talking. In 2018, we started collaborating and working on a movie called Kindred Spirits, a documentary that we filmed and then released in 2018. So, and of course, we work well together. And, it's the combination of knowing some really cool people
Mhm.
and, being in Kentucky, right on where we can film with the people that we want right in their environment where they work and things like that. It makes for making some really great projects, doesn't it? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I'm telling you what, my wife will tell you, I'm having the best time of my life doing this stuff that I do. I mean, it's like I said, being up here, it's if I want to hop in the car and go down to Buffalo Trace, or if I want to hop in there and, go to Louisville, it's, 30, 45 minutes away, where before it was 3 and 4 hours to get up here, do what I need to do, 3 or 4 hours to get back home. And so, yeah, it's so much better.
yeah. Between the year of you moving, job changes, back and forth, and of course COVID, and so you and I basically took about a year off where we didn't work on any projects. But there's not going to be any holes in our distribution because we were so proficient and worked on so many projects that literally we're going to start releasing all the stuff that has been done and kind of ready to go starting pretty soon here, right?
Yeah, actually, as we speak, you could probably hear some of my computer venting. It's going crazy because as we speak, I'm uploading one of the projects that we had started working on is a little episodic kind of series called Bourbon Reminiscing.
Yep.
McNew is a part of it, and so I've we had it ready to kind of I was editing it when COVID happened, and then just work got really busy. It was just kind of a mess, but we're back on track, and I'm actually uploading them as we speak right now. So it'll take a few days to go through the Amazon their vetting process, and then probably within a week or so they'll be live from when we're recording this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing that, and then the other big kind of project we had at the time was we were working on a documentary for Neely's, the Neely family distillery, based on the reception that they got from Kindred Spirit. And I mean, Royce still tells me, everybody came in wanting to know more about their distillery from that little, probably 5 or 10 minute slot that we had for them. And so we're taking basically, if you saw Kindred Spirit, we're taking that little 10-minute slot and turning it into a hour and a half long documentary. So it's going to be it's a lot of fun working on that.
It is a lot of fun, and it's literally going to be meeting all the people. He talks about all the
Yeah.
family heritage and history in Kindred Spirits. You're going to see the family, so it's going to be pretty cool. And we spent some time talking about the individuals that are no longer with us, but we go visit some grave sites and things like that. It's going to be a really, really cool movie. So that's cool. And then the reminiscing one's just fun. I mean, it's literally pop culture. It's pop culture and people weighing in on that. So we throw out a topic from the world of pop culture and talk, and it's all bourbon people. So it's everybody that from the world of bourbon, like Jackie Zycan's in there, Tracy Napolitano from the New Orleans Bourbon Festival. There's like, I don't know, 12 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
Mike from Bourbon's Bistro, the bartender, Jason Bronner, the owner of Bourbon's Bistro, Andrew Weebrink. It's hilarious. I mean,
I'll tell you that the best thing about that is it's been probably, so I just finished up, like there's 8 episodes in this season or this series and I just finished up like 4 through 8, and it's been so long since we recorded these. Usually if I record something and I'm editing it within days of recording it, so it's fresh on your mind and exactly what was said and when it was said. It's just been kind of funny to me to go back, and it's like I'm hearing this stuff again for the first time because I forgot, what all was said. And man, I texted you the other night and I said, I'm editing this.
You were crying. Yeah.
Yeah, I was crying. I was laughing so hard at some of this stuff. It's definitely going to be worth a watch.
Yeah. So you completed a couple other projects too while we're on hiatus, a couple of Moonshiner documentaries. Tell us a little bit about some of those projects and what you did.
Yeah, there's again, kind of moving to Kentucky helped solidify this stuff, but two moonshiners that have been on my radar since 2009 to 2010 are Donnie and Teresa Benton, or Donnie Benton and Teresa Mays. But they go together, and I've known them forever, and they've been begging me, let's collaborate on something, let's do something. And there's always just been something going on, or like, like with you, it'd be a 4-hour trip to get up here to, and there's just not a lot of time. So moving up here afforded me the opportunity to work with them. And I was able to get a documentary kind of, explaining how they do things and how they react to each other. And it was really fun filming that. And just getting their personality, because they were on I don't know if we can say it on here, but they were on that TV show that everybody knows about, and
about people who moonshine.
And but one of the things that I do differently than probably any other filmmaker, and it may make my films better or worse, I don't know, but I let people tell their own stories. Like, I don't go in with a preconceived,
right.
I want you to do this, or here's the outcome, I want you to say this. If I want you to just be you, act like yourself, say what, and so I think for them it was great, because if you watch the film, you'll see that they cut up a lot more than they do, on the TV show, and they just had the freedom to just say what they wanted and act how they want. I think it turned out to be a great project. And I'd known Donnie for a long time, but I learned so much about him. There's a lot of stuff that he does that I had no idea. I didn't know he was that great of a still builder. And just I learned a whole lot about them. Another person that I got to work with is Moonshine Mike Stallings.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most interesting thing about that film, of course, if you know Mike, he's a character. So all of the characteristics that make Mike comes out in this film. So he just cut loose and stuff. But if you've kept up with him on social media and stuff, he's going through a hard time. He's been sick for months, and so he's going through a pretty tough time. And I was there the weekend before he got sick, so I caught him at, normal Mike, and everything was fine. And through the editing process, it was kind of difficult, because I'd have to get in touch with him, and he was really sick. So but I mean, just those two, I never would have been able to do those two if I hadn't moved to Kentucky, just because they both live an hour away from my house, so it was just a hop down the road. And so I think it helped my film portfolio to have those two, because they're so well known in the moonshine community and so well respected. So I'm blessed to have those opportunities.
Yeah. So next month, you and I are filming a pilot that we're collaborating on that takes you from behind the camera and puts you in front of the camera, which is going to put me behind the camera more than I'm comfortable with, but I'll do the best I can. So tell us a little bit about that project.
Well, without getting too deep into it, we had started a project, you and I, a couple of years ago, and I thought it was going to be an awesome experience. I thought it was going to be an awesome series, and just things happened. That wasn't able to come to fruition, but I had actually edited 2 episodes of that, the project we were working on, and it's just never going to come to fruition. It was never going to be a thing. So, but the idea behind it I always thought it was awesome. And it just gave me heartburn to think that we're never going to be able to do this. It's a waste of, not only, I'm not talking about the time that we spent making the episodes that we did, but just the idea was such a great idea. So I've been thinking about it for months and months. And so I finally contacted you a couple of weeks ago, and I said, hey, what would you think about kind of redoing this? I mean, we'll put a different spin on it a little bit, but I just want to revamp this. And basically what it's going to be is pretty much, what the original one set out to be, mixed a little bit with my 5-minute distillery tours. So essentially can I tell the name of it, or can we do that?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's going to be titled The World of Bourbon, or something along those lines. And basically I am going to step out from behind the camera and be the host of this show. And we're going to go, it's not going to be just a distillery. It's not going to be just, it's going to be anybody and anything that has to do with bourbon, whether it's, you know, these companies that make bourbon candies, or it could be a bourbon tour guide, or it could be, you know, I would love to go have an episode with Molly Wellman where she's, you know, showing me how to make cocktails, or, you know, so it's going to be just a vast look at all aspects of the bourbon world, really. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So part of the show is going to be, you know, of course, interview, talking to them about, you know, kind of how they got started or what makes their distillery special or just that kind of stuff. And then part of it's going to be me actually doing some things. So you will probably get to see me screw up a whole lot of stuff, and, you know, and anything I touch, I can screw up pretty good. So, I mean, there's going to be that aspect to it. So, I just think it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and you know, I can't wait. We're going to film our pilot episode next month in October, and then we're going to use that pilot episode. I'm going to fine tune it. I'm going to polish it up, get it production ready, and then we're going to use that to pitch it to.
Yeah,
you know,
it's easier to say, here's what we're doing,
Yes.
Versus, you know, hey, this is what we want to do, and try to explain it,
Mhm.
or do an email introduction. You got to go, it ends up being a mile long as you're trying to explain everything. It's better just say, hey, here's a link, here's what we're doing. Do you want to be part of this?
Right.
Yeah. You know, as we start filming this new series, we're also going to do some brief documentaries. You know, the idea is,
Mhm.
hey, what, you know, there's so many topics that you know, bourbon history that we want to get into, that we could do a documentary, because we know the people that, you know, that knew the individuals that we want to talk about. You know, many of them aren't here, and you know, it's historical things. And you know, I don't know that we're going to do great with these things. It's all independently financed, and you know, we like doing it. But I think, Beau, I think our time will be down the road, maybe even after we're gone, because we're going to document all these cool things, moments of bourbon, firsthand accounts of you know, hanging out and meeting people. And I feel like we're doing important work, you know, in what we do. Do you feel the same way when we're working on these projects? That there's a
Absolutely.
historical content here that's worth preserving?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I've said this in just about every interview that we've done on the, you know, the Bourbon Daily or whatever. But you know, anytime we talk about what we do, you and I and Susie, the difference in what we do and basically everything else is that there could be 20 other bourbon documentaries out there, but every single one of them talk about the ABCs of bourbon.
Right.
And
it's 51% corn.
All that.
We're making these for bourbon fans. They know that already.
Right. So that's the thing, though. So the ones that we do, you know, they may be focusing on somebody in the bourbon industry that anybody outside of this group and, you know, the bourbon group, they're not going to know who these people are. They're not going to know, you know, we're actually looking at one, and if you want to say it, you can, but, you know, it's about a specific place, and
Right.
nobody outside of the bourbon industry is going to know anything about this place. And so, you know, I just think those little, I mean, I don't know if you want to call them micro documentaries or whatever you want to call them, but, you know, the topics are so narrow that it takes a true bourbon fan to truly appreciate the things that we do. And that's fine with me. You know, that's.
Yeah, I don't care about, I don't want a film that appeals to someone who doesn't like bourbon. You know, the probably the biggest documentary in the world, one of the greatest assets of it is it'll appeal to anybody, whether they like bourbon or not. There's enough, you know, ABCs of bourbon in there that you literally can learn enough to kind of appreciate a little bit. That's not who we want to be. We don't want to appeal to the mass audience. We want to appeal to bourbon fans, because I think, to me, that stuff's off-putting when I see it. It takes me out of the element. If I got to see that bourbon's 51% corn, has to be made in the United States, I've toned out, because I don't care. I've heard it enough. Yeah.
Yep.
We also, you know, when you do good work, sometimes Hollywood comes calling, and who knows what happens with the stuff. But we do have a super secret project. Both of you and I have, they've tapped on our shoulders to talk about. And if something like that happens, if that project comes through, it'll be pretty cool, won't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It's nationwide exposure. It's, you know, regular, you know, show that you see on cable, and yeah, that something like that could be game changing. But I won't do it if we have to sell out. We still got to be ourselves. I mean, I always want to be true to that. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. we've kind of already announced our big project of 2022, and we talked a little bit about Michael Myers before we got started here, but our big project for next year, and when I say big project, I mean, it's not a micro documentary, it's going to be a full length feature documentary. And it's going to focus on Colorado whiskey. And, are you excited about that one? And if so, why do you want to help tell that story?
I'm excited about it because with Colorado, like we get to just go hang out and go. We're gonna do. I think it's what 7 or 8 distilleries. So I get to go. I get to go to Colorado. B, I get to go to a different distillery every single day.
Right.
What's not to like about that trip? So yeah, I'm excited, and that's the thing too is, Kentucky bourbon is one thing, and we've done a lot of stuff about Kentucky bourbon. But
we love Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah, we love Kentucky bourbon, but
it's number one. It's you can't say anything but that based on the volume that they put out, right. The great products. But there are other good stories out there, aren't there?
Correct. There's other states and other places that are doing phenomenal things, and it would be unfair of us if we didn't, offer to tell their story, because, just because they're geographically not in Kentucky doesn't mean they're not making a hell of a product.
Yeah. And that's why we want to tell that story and to focus on that. Again, no one's done anything like that. I mean, there's several bourbon documentaries out there, but are any focused on any area but Kentucky? No. And again, there's more stories to be told, and we're going to, most of what we're going to be doing is in Kentucky, but we want to show, I think it'll be eye-opening to see the great stories that are associated with these distilleries in Colorado. What's going on in Colorado? What sort of whiskey scene do they have? And they're making some great whiskey. I mean, it's a story worth telling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Beau, I always say this, and I swear to God, the day that we have to, be, when it becomes like a job, I don't want to do what we're doing anymore. It literally, to me, this stuff is fun. When I feel like I'm doing this for a paycheck, I don't want to do it anymore. And I think what makes us different than anybody else, and even including the other big bourbon documentary folks, is the fact that every time we do something, we come from the standpoint of being fans. And I think that's huge for us. And the day when I feel like, hey, I'm professional, and I don't get excited when I'm coming in and talking to this big name from bourbon, I don't want to do it anymore. And that's just the way I'm at. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. I mean, I'll even take it a step further, and you talk about the people that do these other documentaries, and if they're working for an ad agent, a company, marketing company, or a agency, they'll do this bourbon documentary and then they're on to something else. So
right.
For us, it's at least for me, we do a documentary and that leads to like 1,000 other opportunities that I'm excited about, whether they come to fruition or not. But, you and I, we, on more than one occasion, we've left a shoot, whether it's like, at Jim Beam or, Buffalo Trace or wherever, or Neely's or whatever. And we leave going, hey, I got an idea for something else. I got an idea for something else. And we probably have 100 different ideas right now floating around because
right.
We just get excited. And I think, to your point, the day we walk away from something going, oh, okay, that's about it.
Yeah,
we just need to quit. But yeah, I'm definitely with you on that.
Yeah. Last question for you is, we do a lot of cool things, and we do these as fans. So tell us a little bit about what has been your favorite all-time moment from some of the filming that we've done.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's a hard question, Steve. So,
who is that? Is that? I'm going to have to mute that.
Yeah, that's fine.
There you go.
There we go. That's a very hard question, because I mean the bigger moments to me are, we've talked about this, a couple of times, but the bigger moments for me were, when we got to literally watch Freddie Noe mix up a batch of, what could be, his next big thing, and let us try it for Blending is Trending. That was a big moment for me. one of the other moments for me was, um, you know, filming Al Young, you know, and what was it?
What would be
Probably
his last movie appearance?
October. Yeah,
Yeah.
October. But also things that, you know, filming with Jim Rutledge for that same film. That, I mean, you know, people, I don't know if people realize this or not, but Jim Rutledge may have been in Kindred Spirits. I mean, Blending is
Blending is
trending
Trending.
for, you know, maybe 10 minutes. Blending is trending for about 10 minutes or so. But we have like 2 hours of him just talking about I mean, he just told us everything that, you know, about his career, everything about his history. And to me, that is the best part of this stuff is, you know, I get to, you know, hear it live there, and then I get to scrub back through all of that stuff, you know, as many times as I want. I still have all that footage,
That's
you know,
a
and
documentary in itself. We need to
yeah,
come
yeah,
out with that one and just release, you know, a bulk of that, because that was a great conversation that really touches on the history of bourbon. So
yeah, absolutely. So those are some experiences. One experience I'll never forget, is when we were filming for the Neely documentary, and we happened to stumble upon a bunch of guys back in the woods that were doing some farming,
yes,
and
yeah,
I thought we were gonna meet our maker that day. So
yeah.
that,
Yeah, so we're literally in a holler in Kentucky, way out in Osley County, you know, with Royce and his family, and these two green thumbs, a couple of farmers, stop what they're doing, and they just walk up and they put their hands in their pocket, and they just stand there and wait for us to see what we're going to do. And Uncle Ed, who was with us, Royce's uncle, who still lives in Osley County, got out and said, "I'll handle this." And he goes and talks to the guys and says, "Okay, we're good. Let's get out of here." I don't know what he said. I don't know what the conversation was, but
yeah,
he took care of it, and
I'm
we got out of
thankful
there.
that he was there that day.
Yes, yeah, that had a bad feel to it, didn't it?
Yeah, for
We could
sure.
celebrate it because it turned out okay. But yeah, all right, Beau. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, man. I
Yeah,
really appreciate it. Do you have time to stick around with us?
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We'll keep you around, and we'll check back in with you at the end of the show. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right,
All
thanks,
right.
Beau.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Beau. Appreciate it, buddy. All right,
Today's
Stu, you want
show,
to take us out to break?
yeah, absolutely. Today's show is sponsored by Moonshine University. Moonshine University offers programs to assist individuals in the bourbon industry or simply fans wanting to step up their knowledge. Whether you are looking for in-person learning at the classrooms of Moonshine University or looking for self-study online, there are options to fit your unique needs. Check them out at moonshineuniversity.com. We're also sponsored by the ABV Network's Distiller Summit in Key West, Florida. This 4-day event features events and networking opportunities from January 27th through 30th, 2022. Then there is no better place in the world to be than there is in sunny Key West. Get more information on our website at abvnetwork.com.
Yes, we've got 52 people that say they're coming. And again, it's not like it's huge, right? It's not like an official conference where we make you pay or anything like that. It's basically a group's getting together. We're going to Key West, Florida. Anybody's welcome. I think we have 15 distillers already lined up that are coming. So hopefully maybe Michael Myers can make it if he's not busy that day. And Beau, you can come down, film everything, and then we'll go through that footage though before you put it out there.
Yeah, I feel like there's no better place to be. It's cold most of the United States. Why not go to Key West in January?
It's perfect. It's nice. It's nice, like 85 degrees down there. It's amazing.
Yes, so nice.
Yeah.
Yep. And finally, we have a 1-day flash sale going on in the ABV Network shop. We're offering 25% off of our Chamberson's Drunken Smoking Chunks, which are pieces of bourbon-soaked barrel staves, which give a great taste to your barbecue. Use the coupon code BTSBBQ25 at checkout. Head on over to abvnetwork.com and click shop to take advantage of that deal.
Yes, it is. It's a 1-day sale. Of course, for our live studio audience, it's 2 days because we technically release this on Friday. We do put it up there Thursday night. If you're in the studio audience, you get the first chance at it. Again, the coupon code BTS for Bourbon Talk Show, BTS BBQ25. So check it out. Last time we did one of these 1-day flash sales, it sold out, even though Danny shit on our shirt that we were offering. It said it was terrible. And alive on the thing, he was drunk and he said, "Oh, that's terrible." But then people bought it anyway. Yeah. I think they felt sorry for us. So
those were pity buys. These will be real buys. Got it.
All right. Well, our next guest Has a very successful career in fashion photography. One day on an airplane, he was reading an article about a guy who created the Sailor Jerry rum brand and Hendrix gin, and he decided he wanted to start his own brand. The career pivot led him to opening Distillery 291 in Colorado Springs. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Michael Myers. Hey, Michael.
Thank you, Steve. Hey, how's everybody doing? Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Doing great. Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm really great. Really excited. A little emotional, so it might come out a little bit, but I'm super excited right now.
Yes. Yeah. You've got something big we'll talk about in just a second. Before we get to that, we always kind of like to do a little icebreaker question. And the one that I have for you, and I hope you're okay with this, but you were born Michael Myers, which was, a great name, and you were very proud of it. But then in 1978, John Carpenter comes out with the movie Halloween, and the killer in that movie is named Michael Myers, spelled the exact same way as you. How does your life change? Do people take note of that? Do they still continue to take note of that? What's that been like for you?
They do. I when I say my name, and it's almost daily, somebody makes a face, and I'm like, if I judge the face right, I know it's Halloween. Sometimes it's Mike Myers, but I do go by Michael, so I am Michael Myers, like the killer in Halloween. To me, it came about. I mean, yeah, I remember I was 12 years old in 78 or 13. And so I kind of remembered it then with Halloween a little bit. And then college age, it really popped up around October, around this time, September to October. And back as a photographer, and when the internet came out and everything, I went to get michaelmyers.com, and it was taken. Somebody had bought it, knowing that somebody would come along and pay for it. But I was early to that, and I bought it for $500.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
And so I own michaelmyers.com. And right now, it used to have my photographs on it. It doesn't now. I forget where it goes. But in October, September, October, it used to spike. I mean, you could just see, the hits on michaelmyers.com. So my portfolio as a photographer, the front of it said Michael Myers, the bag said Michael Myers. So I would go to messenger desk in, the big buildings in New York, like Condé Nast, Hearst, and say, hi, I'm here to pick up my portfolio, Michael Myers. And everybody's eyes get about that big. And I'm just like, oh my God, my whole life. So every time I bring out my credit card, Michael Myers, but the really funny thing about that is my real name is Jason Michael Myers. So I've got both killers.
Your nickname is Freddy too. Yeah.
And I am older than those movies.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. And the I don't know if it ends up being sad or because it's new to everybody who does it. I'm Michael Myers, like, oh, do you like the Halloween guy? And yeah, eventually it wears you out, or you just have some fun with it. So hopefully you're having some fun.
Fun, always fun.
Yeah. Good deal. So you've got a big anniversary coming up here on Saturday. It'll be your 10-year anniversary. So that's amazing. Let's hear a little round of applause for that. 10 years.
Thank you so much.
Business. It's not easy. Congrats on that. So tell us a little bit about that and what you're going to be doing this weekend.
So 10 years. Yeah. So my very first, I started the company, I forget, maybe 2010, maybe January 2011. I got my DSP in April or something like that. But I built my still, and my still was ready around. It was taking all summer, and finally the guy's like, okay, I'll do it this week, and it was like the week before September 11th, and I got it on like September 7th, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait and remake September 11th for me. So my first finished distillation was September 11th, 2011, September 11th. We have parties tomorrow night. We have live music tonight in the tasting room. We have a big family friends party tomorrow night. The tasting room will be open. And then Saturday night, September 11th, we have party all day with food trucks, whiskey, drinks, cocktails. and then brunch with music, all weekend music, but brunch on Sunday, and then music. DJ Craftmatic will be here, and a lot of really great stuff going on. So it'll be a great afternoon or weekend.
Yeah. Why was it so important for you to start your business on September 11th? Why did that mean so much to you, Michael?
So September 11th was, I was a fashion beauty photographer in New York. I lived on Chambers and West Side Highway. That's about 5 blocks from the World Trade Centers. And I was on Greenwich and Duane. Actually, we're 3 blocks from World Trade Center. Greenwich and Duane's about 5 blocks. When the first plane flew over, my youngest son, he was a day old for his birthday, September 10th, tomorrow. He was on my shoulders, and we saw it all. Couldn't get back in our apartment. We moved to Colorado about 10 days out, thinking we would be there for a little while and go back. My wife at the time, she put the kids in school, and we were there for 9 months. And I commuted for my photography career, and then we moved back for a little bit, and it wasn't good for my family, so we moved back to Colorado. And like you said, I was commuting. August 2010, I was shooting Vanity Fair and read an article and thought I could brand a whiskey. And then somebody said, "Why don't you try and make it?" So I did. And so that's where September 11th came in again. Like I said, the still was finished then, and I just thought, why not remake that anniversary? And so I have, on a more positive note for me, my family, and I'll never forget. But definitely, I haven't seen a lot of 9/11 stuff this week, which has been really good for me.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. My focus has been on whiskey.
Yeah. I have seen a couple stories, but they've been on the positive stuff, some stories of survival, and it's been actually good to see those, and checking up on some people that had some amazing stories that happened that day. And it's good to see the human spirit of that, and how people are able to survive something like that. So but yeah, definitely a tough time, and we never want to forget that. I totally agree with you. You, of course, it's a big year for you. You've moved into a new distillery. So tell us a little bit about your new place versus your old place and what you've got going on there.
So so I have 2 stripping stills behind me. I design and build all my equipment here in Colorado, or most of it. Fermentation tanks, not so much, or the barrels. But I started in 300 square feet. I could make 60 gallons a month. I had a 45-gallon still that I built out of photogravure plates. From that 300, I was there for about 2.5 years. I won 2 liquid golds from Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible, barrel number 2 of my rye and barrel number 1 of my Bad Guy, a 4-grain wheated bourbon, and moved into 7,000 square feet with the same equipment and distilling in the corner, and was there for about 7 years. And then we outgrew that space, especially over the last year. And we moved into 12,000 square feet, not a lot bigger, but we have another 12,000 that will take over in the same building in May. So we'll have 24,000 square feet, and we're producing 500 gallons a week now. And that's double from where we moved in January. January, we were doing 250 gallons a week. So we're ramping up. We're still tiny.
Oh, that's huge. That's a big jump. And it feels like you're going to be able to be in that place for a while. It just seems like that may be your forever home. It sounds like.
Yeah. And I want to say real quick, there's a new strip. There are 2 of them. They're identical. The shinier one is new. It was delivered about a month ago, maybe a little less. We got it all hooked up, and Saturday we are going to run the first run on that stripping still in honor of September 11th. So
Yeah, very nice, my friend. Very, very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, you're
Thank
doing
you.
some really, really cool stuff for sure. Tell us about the toasted Aspen stave finish idea and how you came up with that. And it's kind of your signature finish. So tell us a little bit about that.
It is. So, when I started, I take a lot of cues from tradition. I'm not traditional. And so I looked at what was traditional in whiskey and all like that. And we raised Tennessee walking horses as a kid and family. And so we had a family farm in Tennessee in Flat Creek, which is about 7 miles to Jack Daniels and 7 miles the other way to Dickel. And so I knew about, sugar maple, charcoal, filtering. And so when I was starting out, I made white whiskey and I thought, why not Aspen charcoal finish it or filter it. And I did that. And so my 291 Fresh is done that way. I wanted to get Aspen on the label kind of because I make Colorado whiskey. And then when it came to an aged product, I was like, I still want Aspen. How can I do that? And I thought, well, toasted Aspen, finish it on that. Nobody's doing anything like that. And I took some aged whiskey that I had of mine and put some Aspen in it in a mason jar and was riding to Boulder, which is about 2 hours from here, and shook it the whole way. Had a control with me, and I tasted them both when I got to Boulder, and I was like, wow, it shifted it just really nicely and slightly. There's not a big note change to my whiskey with Aspen, but it definitely has a change to it. It gets a little spicier, a little smokier, a little the caramel notes go a little more maple for me. It's just a nice little touch. And so now all my whiskey is finished on Aspen. So either if we're doing small batches now, so we'll put barrels in, a tank and we'll put the Aspen in there, or for our single barrel proof, we pop the bung and put the Aspen in there.
Nice. You've won some pretty prestigious awards. You mentioned a couple already, right out of the gate, Jim Murray hitting a couple of those, but tell us about some of the awards that you won. I mean, if you get your bottles, you can see that they are, decorated heavily with various awards that you won. So tell us about some of those and what they've meant to you.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So Jim Murray, I sent to him because he's free, and he says I can take 200. The least I'll take is 200 milliliters, or back in the day that was it. Now it might be a bottle, but the bigger competitions cost money and take 2, 3, 4 bottles. So making 60 gallons a month, it's hard to ship that much whiskey out, right?
Right.
And give it away, right? And then get a bad review or something. So 2016 was the first time I presented to World Whiskey Awards in San Francisco. And I won gold in San Francisco, and I think double gold that year as well. And with World Whiskey Awards, Whiskey Magazine, I won America's Best Rye, No Age Statement, 2016. And again, presented 17 and presented in 18. And I won in 18 World's Best Rye from Whiskey Magazine, America's Best, and then World's Best. And then this year we won World's Best Wheat from Whiskey Magazine and America's Best Wheat. But we won double gold from San Francisco many years. It's been amazing. Denver, New York. But the other one that I really love is the SIP award that you have on that bottle. And that's a consumer-based judging, and so people that drink whiskey as a consumer and not professionally is judging the whiskey. And we've won 2 platinums on our bourbon and platinum on our rye. We won bourbon, I forget the title of it. We've won People's Choice both years with that. We've only presented the last 2 years there, and that's amazing to me. There's a innovation award with them, and my bourbon won that, I think 2019. And so that's what's interesting about this bottle, right? This is the X. This comes out tomorrow. There's only 158 bottles of it, and we put a label, Barrel Select 291, and there's numbers here, and it says 7, for 7 years aged, 10th anniversary, 53-gallon barrel, 150th anniversary of Colorado Springs, and that's this year. And then 150 awards given to 291 in the 10 years that we've been doing this.
Very cool.
And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's really cool.
So,
go ahead. Sorry, Michael.
Yeah. I just want to say we make everything from scratch, have from the start. So mash in, strip, finish, everything is made. We do not source anything. So that's where, for me, it's pretty amazing. When I started, I had never brewed beer. I had never distilled. Like I said, I built my own still. And right out of the gate, my whiskey was amazing. A lot of lightning struck for me. So very, very appreciative.
Yeah. And, I even got a question coming in here, but I wanted to ask you this anyway. And you led right into it with that. You took a hell of a risk. I mean, you had a very successful career. You weren't floundering or anything like that. You were very successful, but you decided to make the switch. Why did you decide to make that switch? What goes into that? I know you read an article that inspires you, but man, that's a big decision to make. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So that decision took probably a good 3 years, personally for me. As a photographer, it was living in Colorado. New York was not safe for my family. They just did not want to be there. California was just not where we wanted to go with our kids. And actually the 9 months that we were here before we decided to stay in Colorado, our kids were in school, and my wife at the time really loved the kids in Colorado and what they, how they responded to adults and stuff like that. And so we came back to Colorado, and she was from here. And so as a fashion and beauty photographer, shooting for Allure, Mademoiselle, Esquire, GQ, you name it, This Old House, Forbes, Tiffany and Company, it's hard to be at that time, hard to live in Colorado and shoot for those companies and stay in the mix of the fashion world. And so I was trying to do that commuting, and it was just tough on my family. And so I just got to a point where I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I mean, I grew up with camera, went to Savannah College of Art and Design for photography, and that's where 291 for me came from. And to give that up, a dream, was really tough, and took, a long time thinking about it and what was I going to do. And it just really hurt my photography career too. I think I kept getting more distant from New York in a way. And so it was just kind of lightning, when I read that article, and I read that article thinking I would brand a whiskey, just like, have it source whiskey, I guess. Yeah. I didn't even know what source meant at that time, but that's my idea, was like, I can brand. I mean, my fashion background, I can design a label. I can, went to art school. I graphic design a ton of stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go down that route. It's creative. It's, not used car salesman, nothing against them, but just not who I am. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make whiskey. And I talked to Mike Bristol Brewing Company. He was a friend, and he's like, get your license and I'll try and help. And so I did, and I got my DSP in 6 weeks, which is incredible amount of time, short.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, what you draw upon that, because we always like to talk to people. While your experience is very unique, I don't know that anybody else that I've talked to that's gone from fashion photographer to distillery owner, but most of them have done something else beforehand. The engineers or you name it, accountants, a little bit of everything that has then moved into that. But I always like to ask the question: how does that play into what you're doing today? And I know there's some obvious ones like graphic design and photography play well into what you're doing, but tell us about some of the other things, how you draw upon your previous work experience to making the whiskey today.
Yeah. So I read that question today. You sent it to me, and I thought about it. And the normal is the branding, marketing. I understood that in the fashion world and all like that, and what it takes to build a brand and make a brand exciting. So, but the darkroom, so early on, I would be at a conference or something and somebody would be talking about their story and whatever. And they were like, I home brewed forever and did this. And so I would get up there and be like, well, I was a photographer and I'd never distilled or brewed or anything like that. And I kept thinking about it. And I'm like, what was my start? And home brewing for me was the darkroom, which is all chemical based, all temperature, time, process, very much distilling, in the dark, and no heat or cooling, but that really was that, and cooking was my home brewing. And so the darkroom, that's where 291 comes from. 291 was the very first photo gallery ever in the world. And when I went to SCAD, my dorm room freshman year, when I learned of the gallery, was 291. So the process of distillation really reminds me of the darkroom. And there are other things. I grew up on a farm, like I said, in Alpharetta, Georgia, and Tennessee. And the first time I was cooking 50 gallons of corn mash, I'm like, 80% corn, 19% malt rye, 1% malt barley. And I'm just like, I'm cooking grits here. This is not, and when I was throwing bags of grain, it just reminded me of sweet feed, 50-pound bags of sweet feed, moving them from the truck to the barn. And so there were, in buckets, I bucketed everything at that time. And so it was, buckets of water, buckets of mash, the same thing that I grew up doing my whole life. So it was really interesting. So that, a little bit of the fashion and the photography, the darkroom and stuff. So.
Yeah. Very interesting. What's it like visiting your place? So if we're going to come out to Distillery 291, what can we expect?
What can you expect? An amazing team that works for 291. Everybody very knowledgeable, no matter if it's person in the taste room, person bottling, labeling, all kinds of stuff. It's a very open distillery. You can see it behind me. We have a H3 room that the finished still is sitting in, and all the high wines and finished whiskey are all processed in that room. The mountain, Pikes Peak, is right out our door over there on the right. America's Mountain is where America's the Beautiful was. The woman went up and was inspired by that and wrote America the Beautiful. I don't know, Western. It's very Western, but it's very refined. I like to say my whiskey is rugged, refined, and rebellious. The area is really beautiful. There are a lot of hiking areas. I hike every day, or I try to, about 8 miles. I got 8 miles in today. This week's been tough. It's been a busy week. But mainly the people. I have an incredible team, and they just really make you feel at home when you're here, and answer every question you ask.
Yeah, we recently spoke to your mother for an upcoming episode of the Bourbon Show, which will be on Saturday. We kind of wanted to be part of the celebration. So we feel like now we're part of the 10-year anniversary celebration, because your mom's interview is going to come out on Saturday for the Bourbon Show. So
I love that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's really cool. But she talked a lot about the people that you have there. So how do you attract and find these great people, Michael?
Oh boy, they find me. I've had a couple of them. Philip is my VP of Business Development, and he showed up and he said, "I want to work for you." And I said, "No, I don't think so." I really did. And he's like, okay. And he's like, I'm going to work there. And so I was really small, starting in that 7,000 square feet. I had a bar, tasting room, and it was very not open that often, but it was open on the weekends, and my bartender that worked there was going out of town, and I had to go out of town. And Philip was the only person I knew that could really make great cocktails. He's from upstate New York. And I asked him, I said, you know, I said, you know, I need you to run my bar this weekend. And he goes, if you give me that key, I'm never going to give it back. And he's been with me almost 8 years.
That's great. Yeah.
He
Just won't go away. Yeah.
Yeah. He started bartending, and now he's the VP of Business Development. He has a hand on selling every bottle that leaves this distillery.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then Emily Rhodes was another one who,
I know Emily. Yeah.
Emily, yep, runs my PR and stuff and my tasting room, and that's all shifting. But she tasted my whiskey, and she's like, you ruined me for whiskey. And she's like, she hung out long enough in the tasting room that we finally hired her. She sold more bottles standing in the tasting room, not working for me, than anybody.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, and I get why you're emotional too, because, you know, when you start a business, a small business, it's tough. There's nothing easy about it. And you have a dream. And if you bring the right people on, you know, people like I got McNew here and Justine, part of my team, and Tim, you know, the people can take you to the next level. They can take you to higher than you ever even dreamed of where you're going to go with this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the great thing about good people is they can help you expand what your dreams even are. They can make them bigger than you can dream.
Exactly. And the one person, I mean, there's many of them. I have close to 25 people working for me, but Eric Jett, you know, I had been distilling for a month. He's my distiller now. I'd been distilling for a month, went to a tasting where I was pouring white whiskey at Stranahan's in Denver. He walked up with Stranahan's group, and he tasted my whiskey and told me all kinds of notes that he tasted in it. And I left there and was like, one day I'll hire him. It took me 3 years, but he's been my distiller since then, and makes all my whiskey for me. We collaborate on special projects. We talk about my whiskey all the time, but I trust him making it daily. And he's built a great team, production guys. Yeah. And you're right. You find the right people. And I kind of learned that as a photographer, because every time I had a shoot, I would build a team, hair, makeup, model, assistants. So I learned from that about how to build a team.
Yeah, definitely. You know, one of the fun things with your mom was, and we learned from this, you know, we've been doing this for 5 years now, and we learned from your mom, because a lot of times we always want to know, one of our standard questions on the Bourbon Show is scoop. Tell us about what's going on, what you got going on. But now we've been asking moms, and your mom called you and got a bunch of scoop. She's like, they're going to ask me this question. I need to have some answers, Michael. What's going on? Give me some scoop. So she had everything. She lined out all this cool stuff. We know everything you got going on for the next year.
She did. She hit me up.
It was great. Yeah.
I think Renee asked her, you know, wanted some scoop or something. And
yes,
and
Renee always asks. Yeah.
And when my mom asked, I'm like, I don't know scoop. I don't know. And I thought about it, and I was like, well, yeah, I have. We had just played with some recipes, right? Because we have E is our label. That's our experimental batch. And I love experimenting. And we've had 8 E's out. E7 is one world's best wheat. But we have, my bourbon recipe is 80% corn, 19% malt rye, 1% malt barley. That's my original recipe. My rye is 61% malted rye, 39 corn. But we took that bourbon recipe, and I'm like, let's make it a wheated bourbon. So we did 80% corn, 19 malt wheat, and 1% malt rye. And the white dog of that came off, and it was phenomenal. I mean, it's incredible white dog. And then we have Bad Guy 4-grain wheated bourbon. And I'm like, let's make it I had never heard of, and maybe you can help me with this. I've never heard of a 4-grain rye whiskey. And so I made it a 4-grain wheated rye whiskey. And the white dog of that's incredible. I mean, it's so good by itself. I can't wait till it comes off wood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is incredible. So yes, yeah. So learn that and more on tomorrow's show that'll be released on Saturday on the Bourbon Show. So really good stuff.
I'm sorry, I gave up some secrets.
No, it's good.
This is good though, because usually distillers
I stole
don't
my
get
mom's
the
thunder. Whoops.
And now now Steve's like, I just asked the moms. The moms are going to get the scoop.
Right.
He found a loophole.
Moms are going to get the scoop. She called him, and again, you see what he did. He's like, I don't think I have any scoops. She's like, Michael, they're going to ask me. I need something. So then sure enough, he's got scoop. He really does. So, yeah. Last thing, and of course, I ask you about this every time. And you know what? If I interview you 100 more times in my career, I'm going to ask you about this every single time, because your mom is friends with and lives next to the actor Sam Elliott. And she's friends with her, his wife, as well as Sam. And tell us a story about that guy, because I love that guy. And of course, I'm a big Lebowski fan. So, he's in that movie. So tell us a little bit about Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. So his wife is not, chopped liver. She is Catherine Ross, an amazing movie star in her own right, but just a little more quiet. In the movie scenes, not in person. She's awesome. Sam's amazing. Sam, they both are. We met him about 30 years ago, a little more than that now. My mom became best friends with Catherine, and Sam became just family friends with all of us. We drank a ton of tequila together, a ton of Wild Turkey 101. He's an amazing soul. Both of them, Catherine as well, but Sam's an amazing soul. He's very caring and very much a gentleman, always. Funny. Both of them are really funny. Laugh a lot, and cuss a lot. I mean, he's a gentleman, but he's definitely Western, and he's on a film right now, or a series, and it's been in the paper, so I'm not giving anything away, but 1883, I think it's called, or something like that. It's the prequel to Yellowstone, that series on.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And and so he's on that. So he's away, and I tried to send him whiskey for it, and he's like, I'm not drinking on this set. So, but he's been a dear friend always, but also in the whiskey business for me. When he first tasted my bourbon, he really liked it. And I got a call from Prop Master on The Ranch, the Netflix show, The Ranch, and said, Sam Elliott wants it on set. And I'm like, 291 on set. I'm like, okay. And
right.
So we sent a case out, and I didn't know if he wanted it for the green room or for, his trailer or whatever. And Sam texted me or called me and said, Michael, you need to look at The Ranch, this episode, if you're not watching it. And I did, and they're drinking 291 on that. And they have cool. Throughout the show after that. And it's very special. It's very incredibly nice of him to do that. And it's people come in and they say, I want that whiskey that's on The Ranch, and that's an amazing thing to happen. But yeah, Sam's awesome. I hope to travel and maybe see him when he's on set. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Very cool. Well, Michael, thanks so much for joining us. Let's hear it for Mr. Michael Myers. Great job.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everybody.
Michael, anything you want to share, like website, social media, anything like that to promote your business?
At Distillery 291 Colorado whiskey. I don't know. You can search Distillery 291 and all that stuff pops up. Don't search Michael Myers, because you'll find way more things than me. But yeah, thank you very much. Come see us.
We'll do. Yes, we definitely will be doing that. And I think I went to Colorado last year just for a quick thing that I had to do, in and out, just a short little day thing. But from what I saw, and I got to go to 2 distilleries in that time, and it's amazing. And that's why it inspired me to do the movie that's going to be coming out. And I'm going to spend some time there every year moving forward. So yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, looking forward to hanging out with you.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, should be fun. Beau, how about you? Yeah, anything you want to share, Mr. Beau?
Really, I'm just social media. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Beau Cumberland. You can find it there. You can find it under Bourbon Sasquatch. And then my journey through the American spirits is another side project I'm working on. So I'm trying to get that up and going.
Very cool. McNew, how about you? Where can people find you?
Yep, I am on Instagram at McNew ABV, and you can find me every Tuesday on the ABV Network channel, anywhere you get podcasts for bottle kills and last meals.
All right, bottle meals, depending on
bottle meals. If that's what you want to have for dinner. Bottle kills.
We've all been there. We've all been there. All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakley.com. The important website, though, is abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. We put our previous shows out there. Our blogs are out there. We've got the shop out there. So you want to go out there and get that 25% discount. It is TBS BBQ 25 on our drunken bourbon chunks. So get those while they last. It's we've only got so much. We're not Costco. We only have so much inventory, and when it's gone, it's gone. So buy it while it's in stock. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd like to remind the audience to please hit that subscribe button for Bourbon Sasquatch on YouTube, where all of our shows will be posted. And when you're watching an episode, please give us that thumbs up, leave some comments, and share it. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And next week, we have Molly Wellman of Jab since 1879, the best bartender in the world, and Bob Goldstein of Goldstein Mill, and Russell Creed of Moonshine Still Pro.
Absolutely. Should be a fun show. Looking forward to that. One final round of applause for our guests. What a great show they brought for us. Really great stuff. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.
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 Turn it off. Here we go.